So late last night, Donald Trump went on a rampage and announced that all trade negotiations with Canada were hereby terminated. And he said the reason he was terminating trade negotiations with Canada, he claimed, is because of a ad campaign that Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, was running in the United States. Trump called it a $75,000 ad campaign. It's actually a $75 million ad campaign where the province of Ontario basically uses the words of Ronald Reagan, who despised tariffs, except in the most extreme of extreme circumstances, and Ronald Reagan, who talked about the importance of free trade and how tariffs lead countries into depressions. And so Reagan's words were used in this ad that was blasted into all of the states in the United States to tell Americans that Donald Trump's trade war is crushing the American economy. And Doug Ford said it was important to educate Americans using Ronald Reagan's voice to also appeal to potentially rational-minded Republicans to the extent any exist. It's basically word for word Ronald Reagan's words in this ad. I'm going to show that to you in a moment. But let me show you what Donald Trump posted about that ad campaign. And this is why Donald Trump said that he was terminating all trade discussions with Canada. The reality is Trump's looking for any pretext to attack Canada. He always has, because he wants to take away Canada's sovereignty and invade it and make it the 51st state. That's what we've always been saying here on the Midas Touch Network. It's what we've always been saying on Midas Canada, which is run by Charlie Angus. It's what he's always been saying on the Resistance Tour. Let's take a look right here at what Donald Trump posted late last night. He goes, "The Ronald Reagan Foundation has just announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. The ad was for $75,000. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA," Trump puts that all in caps, "based on their egregious behavior. All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT." Let's go through a few things together, though. The ad is not fraudulent. It's word for word Ronald Reagan's voice. I'm going to show you what Ronald Reagan said in a moment. You should note as well that the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute is now run by a Trumper, somebody named David Trulio. The entire Reagan Foundation is captured by MAGA. This individual who runs the Reagan Foundation was in the first Trump administration. He was the Export-Import Bank of the United States counselor to the chairman and senior vice president from the program on China and transformational exports. He worked in the prior Trump administration as well for the Office of Secretary of Defense, 2018 to 2020. And he was also the managing editor and head of strategy and editorial operations at state regime media known as Fox from 2021 to 2023. So that's who's running the Reagan Presidential Foundation. It's not like some of these foundations who's like led by like the family members anymore. It's basically been captured by MAGA, as I think you can see there. So let's deal with that. Let's talk about what the Reagan statement said. I want to break this all down for you with logic, with reason, with receipts, with evidence, okay? Because Donald Trump's saying he's terminating trade relations based on this. Let's go on and read what the statement is from the Reagan Foundation. So Dan Scavino, who's Donald Trump's like digital guy and like deputy chief of staff, like he's everything to Donald Trump. He goes, "Oh, Canada is running a $75 million anti-tariff propaganda ad on TV here in the United States of America, directed at Republican voters." And here's the statement from the Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute, run by MAGA now, captured by MAGA. It says, "The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute learned that the government of Ontario, Canada, created an ad campaign using selective audio and video of President Ronald Reagan delivering his radio address to the nation on free and fair trade, dated April 25th, 1987. The ad misrepresents the presidential radio address and the government of Ontario did not seek nor receive permission to use and edit the remarks. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute is reviewing its legal options in this matter. We encourage you to watch President Reagan's unedited video on our YouTube channel. I actually encourage you to watch it too, because it is actually far more anti-tariff and far more free trade than even could be fit into this, 1 minute or so commercial that the province of Ontario is running in the United States. I mean, it eviscerates the concept of tariffs, and it does say, look, in extreme circumstances, you may need it, but it's got to be just for the shortest period of time. It cannot be used as a trade war. It literally says we should not do trade wars. Free trade is vital. And it says tariffs were the reason for the Great Depression. It talked about Smoot-Hawley and how the Great Depression was caused by tariffs. The speech is an apotheosis against tariffs and for free trade. Like, it couldn't be more anti-tariff. Also, it should be noted that Donald Trump said that the ad was for $75,000. It was for $75 million. You may have actually seen the ad run during the American League Championship game, where, coincidentally, the Toronto Blue Jays ended up winning that. Then they're in the World Series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But one of the ads ran there, and it's been running across the United States. Now, as it relates to the issue of permission and consent and restrictions, because, right, the statement said it was run without authorization. Well, if you go to the YouTube channel, which I did, and you read the permissions and authorizations, let's look at it. The title, President Reagan's radio address to the nation on free and fair trade from Camp David, Maryland, on April 25th, 1987. You see it right here. Production date, April 25th, 1987. Access restrictions, unrestricted. Use restrictions, unrestricted. It just tells you credit the Ronald Reagan Library and the Reagan Foundation, which they do in that ad and which I'm doing right here. But it says restrictions, unrestricted, and use restrictions, unrestricted. So there was no restrictions on it being used for that purpose, because I think originally, before the Reagan Library was captured by MAGA, they wanted his speeches out, especially a speech like this, which was on Reagan's main point, free trade, anti-tariff. So what are you trying to say? That Reagan loved tariffs? I mean, what's the premise? Are you going to sue Canada? Is the point of this? Not only are you cutting off trade negotiations with Canada because they accurately represented and probably understated Reagan's hatred of tariffs, but you're going to sue Doug Ford. You're going to go sue the province of Ontario, sue Doug Ford. That's what you're going to do? He'll just play the tape, the full tape, which is even worse for you than the snippet that's on the commercial. So let me show you, okay? And listen to what Donald Trump said again over here. He goes, it's a fake. Trump says it's a fake Reagan, that it's not real. So I went to the YouTube site. Let me play you the main portion of it. And this is Reagan saying it. I went to the YouTube site that they told me to go to. And here's Reagan's radio address on free and fair trade on April 25th, 1987. Listen to it yourself. Here, play this clip.
Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. Now, there are sound historical reasons for this. For those of us who lived through the Great Depression, the memory of the suffering it caused is deep and searing. And today, many economic analysts and historians argue that high tariff legislation passed back in that period, called the Smoot-Hawley tariff, greatly deepened the Depression and prevented economic recovery. You see, at first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity. Now, it hasn't always been easy. There are those in the Congress, just as there were back in the 30s, who want to go for the quick political advantage, who will risk America's prosperity for the sake of a short-term appeal to some special interest group, who forget that more than 5 million American jobs are directly tied to the foreign export business, and additional millions are tied to imports. Well, I've never forgotten those jobs, and on trade issues, by and large, we've done well.
Okay, now, you heard that. Now I'll show you the commercial that the province of Ontario is running. It's a $75 million ad campaign here in the United States. Let's play it.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
And I could show you dozens of other Ronald Reagan clips where he talks about free trade. I'll just show you one other one right here. Here's another clip of Reagan. This one's from 1988 and very much real. Here, play this clip.
Our peaceful trading partners are not our enemies. They are our allies. We should beware of the demagogues who are ready to declare a trade war against our friends, weakening our economy, our national security, and the entire free world, all while cynically waving the American flag. The expansion of the international economy is not a foreign invasion. It is an American triumph, one we worked hard to achieve, and something central to our vision of a peaceful and prosperous world of freedom.
I think America is not going to be saved anytime soon, because unless they are actually having hope on somebody else to come and save them, that is the only way America can be saved. Otherwise, the fall of America is inevitable, because Donald Trump keeps on making mistakes every single day. He keeps on making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. This one is considered a fatal mistake, because Donald Trump, what he did, he terminated all the business negotiations between the United States of America and Canada. Reason being, Canada, I think they tried to do some joke thing, playing a certain ad about the tariffs that Trump just introduced to Canada recently. Now, I want to break it down and analyze for you what is really happening right here. Yeah, it is something you need to know. There is something that is happening many people don't know. But America under Donald Trump has been considered a state capture by me. I think America wants to play what it's called a state capture in Canada. And that is something that maybe Canadians or the government of Canada has not accepted. Okay? He's been waiting for this. He's been waiting maybe for them to accept it. He mentioned it some time back and nobody talked about it. Canada did not talk about it. They didn't say it if they have accepted it or not. He asked them to be part of them, to be 51st state of the United States of America. Remember, the United States of America has 50 states. Now they want to take Canada as the 51st state of the United States of America. This means the United States of America will be under, like Canada will now now be under the United States of America if they accept to become the 51st state of the United States of America. Now, the United States of America has seemed not to accept, Canada has seemed not to accept, to become the 51st state of the United States of America. Canada have not accepted that yet. And because Canada has not accepted and Canada has not talked about it or even addressed it, now what Donald Trump did, he decided to introduce the tariffs to Canada one more time. Now, take a look at this video when Trump talked about having Canada as the 51st state of the United States of America. Take a look.
Talking about Canada becoming the 51st state. In fact, just 2 hours ago, he said, I told Canada, which very much wants to be a part of our fabulous Golden Dome system, that it will cost $61 billion if they remain a separate but unequal nation. But it will cost $0 if they become our cherished 51st state. They are considering the offer. Now, things are actually much worse than you may realize, and I'm going to show you. A recession is already being triggered by Donald Trump. In fact, his big, beautiful bill has something written in it that is absolutely brutal. And as you can see, this was just published a day ago, but I talked about it nearly 5 days ago. And I said, because Canada implemented the digital services tax targeting US companies, in Donald Trump's new big beautiful bill, he put a provision that allows them to increase the withholding tax that is paid by Canadians who own US stocks. That rate will go from 15% to 50%. And I know you may not think that it's a huge deal, but our CPP has nearly $1 trillion in total assets. In fact, they just made almost $60 billion, and they've had great returns for 2024 and 2025.
Because of that, Canada didn't talk about it. They never addressed, they never said if they have accepted or not. And because of that now, I think that's the reason, according to me, that is why Trump keeps on adding unnecessary tariffs to Canada. Yeah? And just to remind them that I need you people to be part of this country. I want you to be part of me and to be under me so that I can be able to control everything. Yeah? I'm just reminding you of the request that I placed on the table, asking you to become the 51st state of the United States of America. I think that is simply what Trump is trying to do. Now, after doing that, Canada decided to try and play a symbol that shows that, these tariffs that you're trying to put on us and embedded on us is not making any sense. Okay? And it went viral and people saw it. People reacted to it, and I think Trump got very angry. So by Trump getting angry, he decided to now terminate and cut all the trade negotiations and business negotiations between the United States of America and Canada. Okay, now I want to take a look at this video. This one can really affect the United States of America in one way or the other. It's very dangerous when a president of a country comes and cut negotiations between Canada and the United States of America, simply because Canada has been one of the biggest business partners to the United States of America. And if there is a country that United States of America doesn't have to lose, should be Canada. If there is a partner that United should never risk losing, that USA should never risk losing, should be the should be the country of Canada. Okay, so Trump doing this is one of the very big mistakes that he can ever do in life, which he has just done. And he's standing in his position by saying there will never be any trade negotiation between Canada and the United States of America. Now, I want to take a look at this video, but I'm going to ask you to subscribe this channel if you're watching me for the first time. And for the returning subscribers, I really do appreciate you. Now, I will come back and try to break down on the risks that this can cause the United States of America. Now, as you're watching this video, prepare your thoughts, have them shared with me on the comment section. I will do my best to make sure I read all of them and give a response where possible. But until then, let's take a look at the video.
Well, it's a crooked ad. I heard he's airing it. Canada, that's why I pulled everything. With Canada, they did a crooked ad. They knew it was Ronald Reagan loved tariffs. What they did is really dishonest. And I heard they were pulling the ad. I didn't know they were putting it on a little bit more. They could have pulled it tonight. Well, that's dirty playing. But I can play dirtier than they can, you know? Ronald Reagan loved tariffs. He used them sparingly, which he probably would make a mistake. He made a mistake in that. And again, I was the biggest fan of Ronald Reagan, but on finance, on trade, it wasn't his strong suit. But he liked tariffs, and they totally changed that to say that he didn't, because they're catering to the Supreme Court, because Canada's been ripping us off for a long time, and they're not going to rip us off anymore. Canada has been ripping us off for a long time.
Why?
One of the most difficult countries to deal with has been Canada. As much as I love Canada itself and the people of Canada, they've just had a lot of bad representatives. They did a fake ad yesterday. They were caught. The Ronald Reagan Foundation was the one that caught him, and it was totally the opposite of what they said. So I don't like that. That's dirty pool, and you can't do that. And let me just tell you, they shouldn't have done it. And they've apologized, and they said, we're going to take the ad down. Well, they did it, but they did it very late. They let it play for another 2 nights, and now they took that ad down. So I don't know when it's going to kick in. We'll see, but I don't really want to discuss it. Let's go. Canada lied. I mean, what they did was terrible. They made up a fake statement by President Reagan. Reagan was a big supporter of tariffs when needed. And we need tariffs for national security, and they totally turned it around because they're getting hurt by tariffs and we're gaining by tariffs. So I'm very disappointed in Canada. They lied. I mean, it was a fraud what they did.
What can they do to get it back on track?
I don't know. I mean, I'm satisfied with the deal we have. We have a deal right now that's very good for us. Any deal that would have been made would have been better for them than the one they have right now. That's why I was surprised they did this. They did this to try and influence the Supreme Court. Really, I don't think there's much they can do. I just assume leave it the way it is. You know, if you leave it the way it is, it's very good for us.
You had said to me some time ago that this is running really deep in Canada. I've since learned that from all my Canadian family and friends. But it's deeper than anything I ever recall in terms of disputes between Canada and the United States, which, by the way, have been going on since the creation of Canada. There's always been disputes.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. I'd say I've never seen my country like this ever before. Canadians have been galvanized. The level of attachment to Canada, even in places like Quebec, which has variously at times tried to secede from Canada, the attachment to Canada there is well over 80%.
Right.
We've never seen anything like that.
Right.
But it's born out of a sense of anger and betrayal.
Yep.
And that is the motivating factor in Canada right now. We've been punched in the nose by our very best friend, and we're trying to figure out why.
Any answer to the why?
Initially, Donald Trump said it was because of the border and fentanyl. Now, on those issues, we have no disagreement with Donald Trump. Every border should be secure, and fentanyl, if we had a magic wand, would disappear from the face of the planet tomorrow. Right. The problems on the Canadian border, however, are minuscule. Doesn't mean we shouldn't attack it. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do something. We stepped up with over $1 billion to help, essentially, CBP take care of the problem on the American side. You see, the issue is we have fentanyl coming from the United States into Canada.
Right.
We also have illegal immigrants coming from the United States into Canada. And, of course, vice versa. This is a problem that both countries have to work on. This is not a Canada problem.
Right.
This is a Canada-United States problem. Everything can always be made better.
The punch in the face thing is interesting because it's not just the trade, it's this territorial discussion. Yep. This idea. Let me tell you what President Trump said on Thursday at the White House. He said, Canada only works as a state. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anywhere. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We have more than they do. We don't need anything. Now, there will be a little disruption, but it won't be for very long. But they need us. We really don't need them. And we have to do this. I'm sorry. End quote.
I'm glad he said he was sorry.
Yeah.
Look, facts matter in a case like this. Let's take aluminum. The United States produces 14% of its aluminum use. Where are they getting the rest of it? Well, they're getting 60% from Canada. I kind of think the United States needs Canada. Interesting, too, Ali, that Alcoa, which is an American company but has aluminum smelters in Canada, has said that as a result of the tariffs, they may take all that aluminum that they're making in Canada that originally came to the United States and sell it elsewhere in the world where there are no tariffs. So what we're looking at here is not just a price disruption, but a supply disruption as well.
Right.
Now, terminating all trade negotiations between Canada and the United States of America is considered a fatal mistake for Donald Trump or for the United States of American president because of the deep economic, strategic, and political independence between the two countries. And here is the reason. You see, Canada is one of the America's largest trading partners. It's one of the largest American trade partners. And everybody knows that. So the US and Canada share world's longest undivided border and one of the largest literal trading relationships on earth. That is what people know, and that is the truth. Okay, so in 2023, total trade in goods and services exceeded $900 billion between the United States of America and Canada. It exceeded $900 billion for sure. And then a president of a country can risk coming out and cutting all the trade relations between Canada and the United States of America. Tell me, if that is not madness, what it is? If that is not risk-taking, then what is that? Millions of the US jobs depend directly on trade with Canada. Without Canada, the trade jobs that millions of the United States of America citizens are depending on will not be there. The jobs opportunities that the country is promising to give to people will not be there because you are cutting off a person. You're doing away with a person that needs to be helping you, or a person that you have done business with a person that is your largest business partner. Cutting off business relationships with him is like killing the dreams of the youths in your country to be given jobs or to get jobs. That's the truth, and that is what it is. Now, killing trade talks will really disrupt across border supply chains, especially in auto, agriculture, and energy stores. That's the truth. Now, North America supply chains are deeply integrated. The US, Canada, and Mexico form a highly interconnected production network and the updated NAFTA. So a car made in North America often cross the US-Canada border 5 to 7 times before completion. Okay, shutting down the trade relations would cripple manufacturing, driven up prices, and lead up mass layoffs in both countries. Okay, those are just points that I've written down after doing a little research and all that. Now, number 3, we have energy security, which will also be at risk. Canada is America's top supplier of crude oil, natural gas, and electricity. So cutting off trade talks could jeopardize the energy flows, increasing the US dependence on OPEC nations or other foreign suppliers. A strategic setback. It will cost them a strategic setback. That is another reason as to why America is at risk, and that is why we are calling it a very fatal mistake. There are things as a president you shouldn't be doing. You see, there are other things as a president. Just look at it, because the whole situation has been caused by Trump. Trump wants to capture Canada. Canada does not want to be captured. Now, Trump is trying to do everything possible that can make Canada accept to become the 51st state of the United States of America. Adding unnecessary tariffs, is not really necessary, should not be an option. We have diplomatic and security fallouts. Canada is not just a trade partner, it's like a key NATO ally, okay, and part of the 5 years intelligence network. So a complete breakdown in trade relations will damage US credibility, strain defense cooperation, and push Canada closer to Europe and China economically. So Canada would rather choose now to work with China. They would rather choose to work with countries from Europe like Russia and all that, and this one is going to really sabotage America. It's going to temper with American relationships and all that, because now China and America are like rivals. Russia and America are like rivals. Now, this has been your trade partner because you are close. You separating him or you putting him aside, it is like asking him to invite the people you've been enemies to. Yeah, it's like asking him now to take position or to bring in now the people you considering your enemies, because Russia and America, they've not agreed in many things. Also recently, China has not been agreeing with America in many things. Now, if Canada tries and decides now to work with China, it's going to be a problem in the United States. If they decide to work with Russia and the other Europe countries, it's going to be a problem to the United States of America. And this is something the President of America should be considering. It is something the President of America himself should be looking into it before making decisions. Before even trying to do anything else, he should be looking into things like these ones. Yeah? See, you have put aside Canada. You've said now, I don't want to work with Canada because of 1, 2, 3 things. And it's because of the things you caused. Me, I would say that Donald Trump caused a problem by himself. You see, Trump has a problem. And the problem of Donald Trump is the fact that he is very greedy, and I don't know if he is the one governing America, or there are people behind his governance, or people who are trying to push him to become or to do things that he is doing. And this one really should sound an alarm to the white Americans who decided to vote for Trump. You see, black people warned white America from voting Trump into government. Now, Trump is trying to do away with America. People have been coming out and saying that America is falling, America is falling, America is going down, America is going down. And some people would think maybe this one is a joke, But according to what is happening in America, and according to the decisions that the President of America is doing and many other things, I feel like the United States of America is not going to survive a single step, because the decisions we are seeing are very much crazy decisions that even if the country was to be saved from falling, I don't think if it's easy for it to be saved again from falling. Okay? As a president of a country, you need to be wise, and there are things you just don't need to fall for it. You need, number one, to have wisdom and know how to come about things. Remember one thing, Canada is a country by itself, and Canada has been a country by itself for a very long time, and therefore leave it as it is. Don't come and you want to take Canada, and even if you want to take it or you want to make it a 51st state of the United States of America, it is okay. But number one, give them a choice to choose. If they say no, or if they don't agree with them becoming a 51st state of the United States of America and operating under the United States of America, if they say no to it, or if they don't agree to it, the best thing you should do, or the best thing you need to do, is to let it be, not force it by now deciding to make them face unnecessary repercussions. I don't know, adding tariffs, I don't know, doing what and all that. You see, you're triggering them, because I believe if these tariffs would never have been added to Canada, then it means Canada would not have responded by playing, I don't know, an anonymous ad or something like that. They wouldn't have responded. But why did they respond? They responded because now they felt like now the US is trying to really frustrate us. That is what they felt. That is what came into their minds. And therefore, they decided to do this. So the first person who actually triggered Canada to respond was Donald Trump. And so Donald Trump needs to know that you're not supposed to rule as a dictator. That if you want to do anything, or if you want anything, it should always be a yes. That anything you have decided by yourself as a president, you should get it. Trump needs to know that. And he needs to understand that dictatorship, even if you have to maybe perform, or if you have to employ dictatorship, then employ it in your country. Don't go outside the borders or outside the boundaries and you want now to push your dictatorship to other countries and all that. Yeah, you need to be a responsible person, a wise person. If you want something, you give. Like you. Let me say, what do you say? If you need something, you tell them, you ask them. If they accept, well and good. If they don't accept, you leave it by that point, at that point, because it means they are not comfortable with what you're asking for. You see? Now, what Trump will do right now is to really risk the country of the United States of America. And the MAGA voters are going to be very much disappointed because they believed in Donald Trump. Now, we have diplomatic and security fallouts. Canada, I've talked about that. I want to talk about domestic and political backlash. Ending trade negotiations would hurt the United States of America farmers, manufacturers, and exporters. Are you getting my point? Farmers will be affected. Manufacturers will be affected. Exporters will be affected, especially in political sensitive swings states. Okay? Business groups, unions, and even Republicans would oppose such a move because it's a very, very, very dangerous move. It could alienate voters in key regions of the industrial Midwest where Trump has historically needed strong support. Now, it is also going to affect him in his political career. Is going to be affected. He might get very weak. He might get or face a political backlash because of this, and he needs to consider that. That is putting a country at risk. Okay. Number 6, we have global economic consequences. Canada and the United States of America are both members of the G7. A sudden rupture would shock global markets, weaken the North America bloc, and undermine the US leadership in international trade. Okay? Everything is going to go down. Even the currency might as well go down because, the stronger the economy, the stronger the currency. The weaker the economy, the weaker the currency. Now, many people would consider leaving or stop using the dollar or something. It might become weak or something like that because this is your strongest and the biggest business partner. Doing away with him, it means you have to look for another business partners. Are you willing to get other countries which are good business partners that will work with you? Look at China. China right now is advancing, and America and China becoming very much rivals. You see, in recent times, Russia and America are becoming rivals, have been rivals for many years. Yeah, doing business together will not be very much efficient. So the countries you have and doing business with, you need to keep them secured and keep them safe and work with them in a good way, so you can be able to actually sustain yourself. You can be able to actually build your country economically in terms of infrastructure and all that. Now, Trump has caused America too much pain. It's high time it should stop because even white Americans are human beings. They're suffering. Yeah, the cry has been too much. It's high time the cry needs to come to an end by the president of a country start being responsible, because if he doesn't be responsible, if he's not going to be responsible, then he's going to land his country into a hole that maybe nobody can be able to take them out of them. Okay, don't make people regret so much. The MAGA voters have already regretted so much. They've already cried. They've already suffered. They are not used to this kind of suffering, not like black people, And I think right now they're asking themselves a lot of questions. Yeah, why didn't we listen to the black community? Because they were asking us not to vote Trump. We went ahead. We fell to the lies of Donald Trump. We voted him into government. Now look at what is happening to us right now. So I don't think he should do that. He needs to stop. Otherwise, he will be considered not the best person to save this country from falling or to save this country from drowning, because this country is really drowning. And every single day, the decisions are made. And the more decisions are made, the more the country is going down, because no single day a decision that makes sense has been made. Every time, decisions that doesn't make sense have been made in this country. Now, tell me what you think in the comment section about this issue. Do you think it's the right thing to do? Do you think Trump, because that is just my opinion. I want to know your opinion in the comment section. I want to know what you have to say in the comment section. Do you think Trump cutting trade negotiations or trade relationship between Canada and USA, do you think it's okay? Do you think it's nice? Do you think it's the best thing to do for Donald Trump, or you think it's a mistake and he needs to change? Tell me what you think in the comment section. I will do my best to make sure I read all the comments and give a response where possible. I am the African Streamline. Until next episode, peace be with you.